Hello friends, and welcome to this snowy winter wonderland, also known as my front yard. In our latest video, I announced that I was going to attempt to replicate the Metropolitan's 1890s walking dress. And thus, here we are. So, without further ado, let's roll the clip. Oh, be warned, there will be a lot of basting, Russian braiding, and lots of fandom pajamas. Let's start by cutting out the pattern we drafted in our previous video from black tarlatan. These panels will be used to flatline the wool skirt. Before cutting the wool, I always make sure to give it a really good press with lots of steam. I recommend doing this with all your fabrics for garments that won't be machine washable upon completion, as it will take any possible shrinkage out of it. Once the wool was nicely pressed, I used the tarlatan as my pattern pieces to cut out the skirt. Before assembling the skirt, I basted the two layers together. I marked my hem and pleats with basting stitches. After basting, I left them to hang out overnight. After some second corrections, I finished off the edges with a serger and basted down the pleats. Now obviously this skirt needs pockets. After the pockets were in, it was time to assemble the skirt. When working with gored panels, I recommend to always start sewing from the widest part to the smallest part of the gore. For if you would go the opposite way, you most likely stretch out the seam. For the waistband, I again used tarlatan to add some body to the wool. After a few fittings, I made some alterations, as you can see by the basting line of the hem, which I lowered on the front. I also removed the darts in the two front panels, as they were to accommodate curves, which I don't have there. With the new hemline, I added the blue tape to the hem, just like the original dress, and sewed the hem by using a herringbone stitch. Time for the bodice. I used the same pattern that I used for my 1870s dress as a basis with some minor modifications. I'm using a cotton viscose coutil to flatline the bodice, which will be made out of a very fluid viscose. So in this case, the coutil will actually act as the main body of the bodice. I then again basted the two layers together. I personally like to do this on a pressing hem, as it will accommodate the ease it needs when the bodice is curved around your body. Once all pieces were basted and the edges serged, it was time for assembly. Now for the front piece, which will be the blouse part, I marked my pin tucks by using a tracing paper and tracing wheel. This helped me get my pin tucks as neat as possible, especially with a very drapery and fluid fabric as this one. Time for another fitting. To check the length of the bodice and make any possible alterations before sewing all the Russian braids on. Here you can also get a good look on how the front closure will be constructed. Please excuse me while I interrupt our regular programming by announcing our giveaway winners. Please join me in congratulating Kagami Sorrows and Mind of Marissa on winning a digital pattern download of the Hamilton Spencer jacket, which was specially created to support the Costume Industry Coalition. More information on how to claim your prize or how you can help the coalition further can be found in the description down below. Now that we have done our fitting, we can go ahead and deconstruct the bodice again. With the bodice taken apart, this was also a good moment to make the front closure. The time had come to tackle the inevitable, the Russian braiding. I started out by measuring and drawing out the pattern on the bodice. And after a few trial and errors and some serious cursing, I finally got the swing of it. I would like to say, as I can now speak from experience, that if you are a perfectionist like myself, do not do this on a tight deadline. So this is the first fitting with the finished under bodice and the first mock-up of the upper bodice. I did my pleating here. Don't know how well you can see this. To give it a little bit of that chicken breast. I do want to fix, I'm not happy with the shape of the lapel, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to move this in a little bit further. The back's pretty okay. These ones will be tacked down here and given an extra loop. So yeah, I just need to make some adjustments. I'm also going to loosen it up a little bit so you can better see that there are actually two separate bodices, even though I'm going to do it as one. But yeah, I really like the effect of the Russian braid. I'm not really happy that not all of the braids match up. They're not supposed to match up, they're supposed to be off, like stacked on top of each other, if that makes sense. So per the original they're not supposed to match, but I might, if I have time, adjust it a little bit. I don't think you even need boning in this. The Russian braiding makes gives a good support, so I don't need boning, I think. I mean, it keeps pretty tight, so yeah. Right, let's do some adjustments to the mock-up and make another one. After some more fiddling with the lapels, it was time to cut the outer bodice. I used a glazed cotton for the back and a linen canvas for the front to add more body. Also, fun fact, this wool was actually bought as deadstock from Tommy Hilfiger. I then tortured my fingertips by pad stitching all lapels. Pad stitching adds body to the lapel and helps manipulate the fabric to form the fold. That is, if you don't knock over your glass of water all over it. Right, so this is where we are right now. I have to say this is the weirdest bodice form I have ever worked with. Mainly because of the weird tappy things. So this is the wool, the outside of the jacket, and then this is the lining, which is the same fabric, it's the viscose as the blouse is done from, but because it's a super like fluent or flowy fabric, I backed it up with some cotton organza, just to give it a little bit more body. So what we're going to do now is we're going to merge these together, basically sewing from all the way there down there, blah 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 blah, and then the shoulder seams will be stitched along with the under bodice, and this will be worked separately. So yeah, oh, and these are the extra lapels, the top lapels. I've already finished these, and because of the fabric, I don't know how well this shows, it's so super flowy. It's, yeah, it's a little bit hard to work with, but I hope once the Russian braid goes on, it adds a little bit more firmness to it. So yeah, these are all pad stitched and thus formed, as you can see. They have like the nice roll to them, and that's purely by pad stitching. As you can see, this one does not want to lay flat, so this also has that roll to them, and that's what pad stitching does mainly. It's to manipulate the fabric in a way. Because the Russian braid on the lapels are not finished inside a seam like in the other bodice, I had to finish off the edges with a little patch to keep them from fraying and unraveling. Once those Russian braids were stitched on and finished off, I could attach the two separate lapels to the bodice. Then I could finally merge the two bodices. I did this by basting them together on the shoulder seams and the arm side. Then, after the shoulder seams were sewn, I could finally start to figure out the sleeves. Alright, so this is how far I got. Don't mind my pajamas, but I already finished off the back here and the front. I just want to wait with fastening this before I have done the fitting with the sleeves, with the finished sleeves. So this is my first mock-up of a sleeve. I'm gonna do some changes because I think the poof is too big. I think it needs to be taken out in length, and the sleeve is a little bit too wide here, so I'm going to adjust that, and I think I'm gonna straighten this one out as well. And I want, this is basically smooth, this needs to be gathered way more. So yeah, I'm gonna do some adjusting with that and play around. The lapels are ready, I don't know what you can see here. Now here you can also see the closure, so here is the hook and eye part. That doesn't close right now because I'm not wearing my corset. And then this is the blouse that closes separately over each other like that, and that will hide the hook and eyes. It'll probably be tiny poppers or something. So yeah, it's coming together. All right, sleeve number 2, which is much better. It is a little bit more poofier up here than the original, but I think over the years it has lost a little bit of its poof. I mean, the 1890s were known for their big sleeves, so yeah, I think I'm gonna leave the poof like it is now. I kind of like it. I think I'm going to take it in a little bit more here, because now it's, I don't know, it looks a little bit more like a modern. I like it a little bit more fitted, but yeah, all looks good. Happy. The sleeves too are flat lined with tarlatan and basted together before assembly. Oh look, more Russian braiding. Using a herringbone stitch, I sewed down the pleats atop the braided insert. As per tradition, I was still sewing till the very last minute. Yeah, guess nothing has changed on that part post 2020. Unfortunately, I was not able to do any more fittings after the upper bodice mock-ups. This also meant that as time was running out, I failed to film the last few steps and finishing touches. But here is one last shot of sewing down the lining of my collar. And there she is. Oh, by the way, did I fail to mention I made this to wear as an extra for a Dutch documentary about our country's history? No? Well, I did. So now that I see the final result here, there are a few fit issues that I would like to fix. In hindsight, I actually think the bodice will benefit from some boning to keep the bodice more smooth. I would also like the front and back straps to be a little bit more fitted to the body. And I definitely need to press and tack down the lapels, as they did not stand open as much as they should. Oh, and add the shoulder pieces that I didn't have the time for. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. And that's it. I hope you liked tagging along and enjoyed the snowy footage, as this amount of snow is very rare in my country. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!